We've got a 30-minute Iron Man match between Shawn Michaels and Kurt Angle, which ended in a 2-2 draw. Both really special performers here. We've talked about Shawn Michaels on a few occasions on the show, but I would love to hear what you thought about Kurt Angle as a performer.
Well, again, yeah, Kurt. Here's a guy who was, um, he had also been an amateur athlete. I had a lot of respect for the guy right out of the blocks. I mean, because that kind of reminded me of my dad. I mean, my dad never went to the Olympics, but I think it was 1946, won the AAU National Heavyweight Wrestling title, and then went back and he went to Nebraska. And I think he was in the Navy when he won that. And then when he went to Nebraska, he lettered 8 times, 4 years in football, 4 in wrestling. 3 years in a row, he was conference heavyweight wrestling champion. So
just a hell of a man.
And so, yeah. But yeah, I have a lot of respect for somebody who can do the real deal and then come on, because sometimes that doesn't always mesh.
Right.
I mean, if you're the real deal and you're doing real amateur wrestling, I mean, professional wrestling is, I mean, a far cry. I mean, it's a work. I mean, obviously you got to be an athlete, but I don't know that. Okay, I put it this way: knowing all those amateur moves is not going to help you as a professional wrestler. What is going to help you as a professional wrestler is your ability to perform. You can't give anybody charisma. They either have it or they don't.
Yep. And Kurt certainly did. Dr. Tom Pritchard is the guy who trained him. And I believe Dr. Tom is on record as saying that Kurt Angle took to wrestling more naturally than anybody he's ever trained.
Yeah.
Which is just a crazy thought. This guy who's this prolific trainer saying like, yeah, Kurt Angle, this amateur, this guy with no professional wrestling background, just essentially walked in the door and was immediately the guy.
Yeah.
Man, absolutely incredible. And,
that's kind of like, my dad was similar to that. I mean, not an Olympic athlete, but, he took to pro wrestling like that.
What's interesting about Kurt too is that, he comes from a sport where it's like you're trying to dominate your opponent, and now all of a sudden, you've got to learn about selling, and you've got to learn about begging off and all that sort of thing as a heel. And it's like he had, allegedly he initially was like, well, I don't want to lose coming into this business, but he started to get it, and then all of a sudden he's like, okay, and he didn't mind being like a chicken shit heel or cheating, or I mean, just such a remarkable story with Kurt Angle. What a hell of a guy, and a guy really after kind of your own heart when it comes to wrestling. Kurt Angle tells some incredible stories in the ring.
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Can't sing his praises enough.